there were a bunch of events around the country this past Wednesday, which was Tax Day, April 15th, and a lot of people turned out to say they oppose this administration. They think, it's going to raise taxes too much. They're arguing against the priorities of the Obama administration. Mr. Axelrod, who we just heard a moment ago, senior advisor to the president, was asked about these Tax Day rallies, tea parties on CBS, and he said this.
I think any time that you have severe economic conditions, there is always an element of disaffection that can mutate into something that's unhealthy.
James Carville, is it mutating into something unhealthy for an American to go out and hold a sign and say, I think my taxes are too high?
No, and I love David Axelrod. And by the way, most Democrats I know are delighted with this. We couldn't get enough of this coverage. I mean, and then when the guy comes up and he says, how many of you make under $250,000 a year? They go, yay, you're getting your tax cut. And then they booed him. This was... I think, if anything, it was harmless and somewhat damaging to Republicans. I couldn't. The more that we cover this thing, and the average age of these things had to be 72.4. I mean, they had every old crank in the country out there. And then they would put a couple of, kids on the front of it. I mean, but please, let's cover this more.
It's a smarter response than Axelrod's, but I don't think accurate.
Specifically, you have a senior advisor to the President of the United States saying it's unhealthy. They were out protesting.
This goes right into the Napolitano thing. Unhealthy? What's the next thing? Federal agents looking down at us? Look, people want to let off steam. They let off steam. These things were mostly very positive. The problem was, as we say in philosophy, insufficient options. Media coverage, different network coverage on this was just horrible. But I wish they had a little more focus to them. But I think that'll happen. Right now, Barack Obama, we're in the first 100 days. He's blocking out the sun. I mean, the guy, everything he does, it's all about Obama. Republicans will have their moment.
I wish we would have covered it more. I don't know, we'd have gone wall to wall, because anybody in the country
looks at it. We covered it all morning. We covered it all morning. It's very positive.
I think this was if I'm a Republican, I'd say, God, let's get away from this thing as fast as we can.
I don't think so. When it's linked to taxes and higher taxes, that's a good thing. That's a good thing for us.
James and Bill with us this morning. Thank you both for being here. And remember, as we let them go, they'll continue their conversation. Trust me, we should mic them into the green room. We all know last Wednesday was Tax Day, April 15th, the day we greet gleefully. And there were some rallies around the country, people who think their taxes are too high and that this administration is going to make them even higher. And they showed up in thousands of cities, and let's be honest, a lot of it was ginned up. The incitement was ginned up by another network that decided to invest in that. But the people who showed up were Americans saying, I think my taxes are too high. I don't like the administration's policies. David Axelrod, a senior advisor to the president, was asked about these tea parties earlier today, and he said this.
I think any time that you have severe economic conditions, there is always an element of disaffection that can mutate into something that's unhealthy.
Is it unhealthy, Stephen Hayes, to demonstrate?
He's going to want to clarify that comment, I think. I mean, to suggest that these tea parties are unhealthy, sort of broadly in a general way, I think is almost offensive. I mean, there are plenty of tea parties. We have an article in our magazine, Weekly Standard, about that this week, a tea party that, where the reporter interviewed homemakers and people who are out of business who said, look, I just don't want government doing as much as it appears it's going to be doing, in a very, very healthy way, I have to say. So I think you're getting into dangerous language when you make a comment like that.
I think, and I can't speak for David Axelrod, I think he did misspeak to a certain degree. I think what he's talking about is that people get angry when they're out of work and when they see their pension plans fall apart, and that what he was talking about was anger. There was a lot of anger at some of these tea parties, but these are just people demonstrating for what they believe in. More power to them, right?